on a Tuesday down the shore, hour number 2 of BYP, right here on AM 1490 Sports Betting Radio. I'm your host, Rich Quinones. Lloyd Vance will join us in about 15 with Vance's View as we go around the NFL. We'll open up at 609-445-1490. A lot of tweets coming in. Hashtag BYP or back your play right here on a Tuesday at Rich Q on Q at 1490 Sports Bet. All right, I wanted to get into this Embiid contract, which, listen, a couple things now. When you can go out and negotiate on your own behalf and you're banking on yourself, that is kind of next level game, to be quite honest with you. That's getting the bags. And if you thought now from yesterday to today the MVP odds have changed, they haven't. He was sitting at plus 650 yesterday. He's sitting at plus 650 now. So if you really break it down, the multi-year contract extension to remain in Philly currently has Embiid at plus 650. Now, you might be able to catch it at 675. I saw a couple quickly flash it at plus 750, but now it's dropped to 650 to win the MVP. Only Luka Doncic at plus 450 has shorter odds. Look, he's worth the money. I mean, he is. He can be at times a dominant player. And it's the NBA, man, so everyone's signing these max contracts. He's not going anywhere. This tells you, first and foremost, that the Philadelphia 76ers have said, this is the guy that we're building around. You know, Joel Embiid's already had 7 years under his belt in the NBA. So now by these new reports, he's set to make about $50 million more in an extension that'll run through 2026, 2027. 4-year deal worth up to $1.96. You get paid for what have you done for me lately. And if you look at the season he had, you can make a case that he was also league MVP. It comes off a career year for Embiid. He averaged 28 and 10. He was dominant. When he wasn't on the floor, we saw the impact that he had, that it had, his loss, not being on the floor, had on the Philadelphia 76ers. 4th straight All-Star game. 3rd All-NBA second team. NBA All-Defensive second team for the 3rd time in 4 years. Finished 2nd in MVP voting. Hey, listen, the Joker, he had a great year. He did. So like I alluded to, Embiid is a fan favorite in Philadelphia, right? So you have to be, if you're a Philadelphia 76ers fan, you got to be ecstatic because you knew you were going to lock him up, but you got it done. And it's a super max. So now the pressure is even more so on Embiid and Doc Rivers and the Sixers brass and Morley to get it done. Morey's got to go out, and they got to figure out what the hell they're going to do with Ben Simmons. And now all of a sudden the Timberwolves, right, seem to be in the mix here. But Embiid, he is a dominant force, man. He decided, I need to get in better shape. I got to be more engaged on both sides of the floor. He played like a man on a mission this past season. He did. You can't sit there and say, wow, he was one of the main culprits of why they look. Hey, look, we know the type of games that he had, right? You know, let us not forget Game 2 against the Hawks, 40-13. Let's not forget the 22-13 in a Game 6, the 37 in a Game 5 loss. All right, he had the turnovers. We get it. That's stuff that has to get cleaned up. But the Sixers have told you by this move, it's Embiid. This is his franchise. This is his team. And again, we knew that already. We already knew that. But now this basically has solidified it, which means bye-bye Ben Simmons. It wasn't going to work. It just wasn't going to work. And we can have all these types of trade suggestions, right? Everyone has these thoughts. You guys tweet at me all the time. How about Simmons for Damian Lillard? I mean, how much, when it happens, it happens. When it happens, it happens. 76ers are going to continuously take calls on Ben Simmons. And ultimately, they will be patient. They want a legitimate all-star player in return. They want to get their best value for their buck, right? I see this new trade that's put out there by Bleacher Report. The Sixers would send Simmons, Tyrese Maxey, Thibault, and a 2022 first-round pick and a 2024 first-round pick to Portland for Damian Lillard. I'm sorry. I'm not giving that. That's too much. That's too much. The only way it happens is if DL basically forces his way out. If he wants out, he'll have a hard time finding a better fit than, say, Philadelphia, where you can be the Batman and Robin. With Embiid, you can be the Robin, right? That now, all of a sudden, that move, if you're a Sixers fan, yeah, you got that 1-2 punch, man. Now, all of a sudden, that window opens back up. 76ers would love to have him. I mean, think about that pairing for a minute. Wouldn't that entice you? Now, all of a sudden, you can battle against the Nets. You can battle against the Bucks. Even a team that arrived early to the dance in Atlanta. But I just don't see that happening. I don't. So now, all of a sudden, you see these rumors regarding and involving the Timberwolves. And I give Daryl Morey a ton of credit because he's trying to figure out a way to get excellent return for an all-star player, a young player, a talented player, but yet a flawed player. And that's tough to do. You know, Minnesota might be the best spot for him. Small market, not a ton of pressure. And Minnesota's been one of those teams that's kind of been whispering sweet nothings in the Philadelphia 76ers ear. And you have to now, because Embiid is locked in, okay? He is locked in now. He is that cornerstone. He is that centerpiece. You've got to now get back players at this moment who can step out on the floor with Embiid, accelerate that timeline, because you've got a player in his prime, and now you're trying to ultimately win a championship. They have to mesh right away, man. Can you imagine if Simmons comes back to training camp next season? Oh, boy. Wow. You have to find best value in return. You have to. Look, if you keep breaking this down, right, Cat's off the board, and that's a bad fit for Philadelphia. You know, Anthony Edwards, springy, electric, but he's cheap for a few more years, so I don't see them parting ways. He's also somewhat flawed. You know, D'Angelo Russell, I've always liked him. He's, 24, 25? He's not a bad offensive player, point guard. But, again, come on, look at his defense. Ugh, not good, right? So, Minnesota, motivated buyer, Sixers motivated seller, but again, they can't come to an agreement, right? I got to get back more. And I, quite frankly, for what Portland might want back in return for DL, I don't know if I'm ready to do that. I just don't know. All right, quick timeout.